How's everybody doing? This is Blake with Blake's Builds. Today I received a few things in the mail for my truck. I was going to go over them today before I installed them. And I was also going to kind of go over what I've done to my truck so far, kind of where it's at, where I want it to be, probably the best things I've ever done to it, and the one things that if I would do again, I would probably do it differently. So, first things first, let's get into the cool new parts that came in today. All right, the first thing that we're going to go over is going to be the biggest thing that I've done to the truck. That's going to help with takeoff, burnouts, and just that in general. This is track bars. I got them from Speed Engineering. You can see the part number there. So this is a lowered truck. It's a 4.6 drop, axle flip kick in the rear, C-notch. I have a ton of wheel hop, more than you would ever imagine. I mean, it'll jar you loose, and it's just a matter of time before I break something. And I have, every time you get online or something, you ask the question. Everybody recommends a Speed Engineering kit. It's not a normal track like slap bar. It's more of a lever type. If the rear end ratchet, it shoves like a link bar and it pushes weight on your spring perch. I mean, it's really a neat design. This should help the truck immensely. I mean, taking off at the track, if I go to spin, it's just going to it usually just wants to wheel hop, that rear end just ratchet. But in a later video, I will do an in-depth install of this. And I got to make sure I get that sticker on the truck. It's probably at least 20 horsepower. All right, so now we got that out of the way. Let's go to another big thing. All right, it must be said that ultimately my end goal in this truck is to be turboed. I want to make, somewhere around 700-800 wheel horsepower, just to have a whole lot of fun with it. But realistically speaking, it's probably a long ways out before I can even, think about turboing this truck. So in the meantime, I grabbed me a set of these eBay headers. This is the really cheap ones. I think I paid somewhere around $250 or $280 for these. You can find them on a good day, low 200s, but with the stuff going on around right now, the virus and all, you're doing good even finding this stuff in stock. When I ordered it off eBay, black was the only one in stock, and it was the cheapest. I mean, initial, reaction to these, this is my first time opening them up. It looks pretty good. I mean, the welds look good. They're supposed to be stainless. I mean, this black paint is not going to last. I'll be honest about that. It is not long for this world. But like I said in the last video, this truck is built for hoes, not for shows. So I'm not really cared about how they're going to look in, heck, even 100 miles. Only thing I'm looking to add is maybe 20 horsepower and maybe get a little bit throatier sound. Be going up to a 3-inch pipe instead of, I think it's 2 3/4 or 2.5 factory size. Of course, she's going to breathe a lot better too. All right, so now let's move on to... So I purchased this 2003 Silverado in October of 2017. I purchased this from a car lot, paid somewhere around $2,000 in it. Tickled to death, I got a 5.3. So, but the owner said that he had just put a transmission in it. He bought it, from somebody with the transmission blown out. He put a used transmission in it. I'm like thinking, great, I'll be able to drive this thing and just, be fine. That wasn't the case. But originally, after I got the truck, almost immediately, I was like, I'm going to make this thing look better. It looked like it had been hit with a baseball bat all over. The hood, the fenders, the bed sides, everything was just it'd been a work truck. It looked like some old farm truck you'd see, hauling a hay wagon, even though, it was 2-wheel drive. But somebody put the work in her. She had 250,000 miles, and she was abused. But, so, first thing I was like, I'm going to make it look a little better. So, I got rid of the factory steelies that were on it. I don't know if they were factory, but somebody put just the spare tire looking steelies around her. It looked pretty bad. I replaced those with some Cadillac 17-inch rims. They didn't look much better, but they were free. Someone had given them to me. The tires were good. And the bedsides were pretty tore up. I decided that I could fix the passenger side bedside, but on the driver's side, it was just a little too much than I thought I could handle. So I decided to replace it. That wasn't too bad. I did that. I also did one of the front fenders. And on the hood, I did some Bondo work. And along with the passenger side, I did some Bondo work there. It doesn't look the greatest. I'm learning as I go. I'm not an expert at this whatsoever. It's a lot of fun. I have my brother help me out a lot. But immediately after I put, I was probably at $1,000, doing this body work. Time I did the bedside, the fender, bought all the supplies. I painted it myself. I mean, I was probably at $1,000. The transmission went out. The 4L60, as you know, them things, they sometimes they don't like to show up to their, second, third shift. I knew that was going to be a issue eventually, especially for where I wanted to go with the truck. But we have a local engine builder here near me, and he said he could rebuild it. I can't remember how much, but it was cheap enough for me. It seemed like it was like somewhere around $1,200. He would rebuild that trans. It's like, all right. So my cousin has a shop with I don't guess he had a lift at that time, but he has a shop. No, he did have a lift at the time. But anyhow, he has a shop, so we decided to go do it there. He was going to help me do it. I was like, well, if I'm pulling the trans, you might as well pull the engine too and cam it. So I did my research. I want to turbo the truck eventually. I want to make 700-800 wheel horsepower. Just have a super fun truck. I want to do 55 mile an hour rolling burnouts. That sounds a little crazy, but that's kind of what I want to do. So I called BTR. Super helpful. They told me exactly what I wanted to do. Or they told me exactly what I needed for what I wanted to do. And the engine builder, or the trans builder, said, hey, this is the torque converter you need for this option. It was a TCI Street Fighter, I think a 3200 stall. Nothing beefy. It was, on the budget side of converters. It was, it's $400 or $500 if I remember correctly. So I purchased the one he recommended, the transmission builder. So I did, so with the BTR kit, I did springs, push rods, spring retainers, valve guides. I did rod bolts, the rod caps. I did the bolts on the APR rod bolts. I did a new high volume oil pump. I didn't do high pressure. I didn't really see the issue or the necessity of it. So I did that. Regasketed a lot of it, just made sure everything was A-okay. So we get it all back together. It's running great. It's running like a scalded dog. I hadn't even had it tuned at this point yet. I mean, at stoplights, sometimes they wanted to die on me. It was a little ghetto, but she was a blast. So about 5,000 miles after having the cam and the built transmission installed, guess who doesn't show up for the 2nd to 3 shift? The transmission. So I call the the trans builder, sorry. And he's like, oh, well, there's no warranty on that because I didn't install it. I was like, you didn't tell me that you had to install it to get the warranty. I said, I had, a mechanic with a shop install this. He's like, it doesn't matter. He didn't install it. And I didn't buy the torque converter from him. And I said, you're the one who told me to buy this torque. But anyways, it's the biggest ordeal ever. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going 4L80E. So buddy at work, I'm talking to him and he says, hey,
I know some with a 4L80E. They say it's perfect. You know, they want $300 for it. Sweet, you know, where at? Let me give me the number. And I go and buy this 4L80E, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy once, cry once, because I should have switched to a 4L80E on the first one. So I call up Circle D. Now I got a Circle D 3200 billet torque converter in this thing. I mean, it's a hoss. You know, it's built perfect for the 480 4L80E to the 530. So the snout on it's a little bit longer. I know on 6 liters is normally, you know, mounted to the flex plate, or the little nub came out a little farther and made it. But anyways, I got all that built. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go through this 4L80E, you know, just to be safe. I know the guy says it's great. Like, I'm gonna buy an Alto Red trans kit for this, put a shift kit in it, you know, Transgo shift kit, all this. I'm like, yeah. And we pull that sucker apart, and you wouldn't believe it, but every clutch pack in that thing was toasted. I mean, just no friction material left, just steel on steel. It was me and my buddy rebuilding it. More of him, I'm still learning, but it's like, well, good thing I pulled this sucker apart, you know. So we get it all back together, get it in the truck. I go to take it, have it tuned. As you know, between 4L60 and 4L80, you gotta, you know, let the computer know what's going on. Well, I don't have second or third gear. Or, I only have second gear. I don't have first, third, fourth. I do have reverse. But I'm missing first, third, and fourth. Like, what the heck? You know, so I dive and dive and dive. And apparently with these 4L80Es, there's a problem with a little plunger in the valve body. It wears out. Sure enough, $300 later, I needed a new valve body. So I'm already out, you know. I can't remember how much I paid for that shift kit, but it wasn't cheap. So I ended up having to buy another valve body. I decided not to go with the shift kit. I found someone knew how to up the pressure on it, make it shift a little harder, a little firmer, without, you know, having to spend the money on another shift kit, because I wasn't going to deal with it. I already threw all the directions away, all the stuff to drill the holes, all the pressure relief stuff. No. So we get it in, and it's running great. You know, with a 4L80E, it's a power robber. Don't get me wrong. She loves to take away some power. She dynoed at 320 wheel horsepower. But I still had the factory rear end gears in this truck. So it came factory with 343s, I think. I think that's where she started. I think 343s. Of course, it had the terrible G80 locker. So, I mean, every now and then I'd get pauses. Most time it was just that back passenger side wheel just spinning. But, so I decided, so I drove around like that for about a year. I could run 60 miles an hour in first gear. I actually went to the drag strip with that, and the fastest pass I ran at 8th mile was 963, I think, at like 72 miles an hour. So I was crossing the line pretty much just right after I shifted into second, which is terrible. So about a year ago, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of these gears. You know, it's atrocious. So I was like, well, do I want 410s or 456s? I know I'd seen some 430s, but I wasn't real familiar with them. But I just kept going back to, you know, I want that dig, but I also don't want to be crazy RPMs, because, you know, I do drive this to work sometime, and I do go down the interstate. So, you know, you're talking 80 miles an hour. You know, if I want to punch it, you know, and get up there to 90 or so. No faster, right? But anyways, so I set it on. There's a gearing calculator online. I went into that gearing calculator and decided I was comfortable with $3,000 at 80 miles an hour. And that put me right at, you know, 430 gears. So I was like, all right, well, I know what gears I want. What type of rear end do I want? Because I'm not sticking them on that G80. You know, them things, good luck even keeping them together. Everybody and their brother was saying, truetrac, put that Detroit truetrac in there. You're never going to look back. It's a gear, helical gear kind of locker. You don't have to worry about, your clutches failing or anything. It's a beast. There's a bunch of 1,000 horsepower trucks that are, running this differential. I thought, I'll give it a shot. It was on the pricier side. I mean, I can't remember, but I was close to probably $1,000 with the locker and the gears. I'm like, all right, buy once, cry once. You gotta get her to, you gotta do something to have some fun. So I found this old guy, he installed it for $200. I'm telling you what, that is the best performance thing I have ever done to this truck. If you got a stock truck, 430s, I mean, it's the best of both worlds. Everybody's got 410s, everybody's got 456s, but that 430s, it's like a little sweet middle zone. Like, you're $3,000 at 70 miles an hour, or 80 miles an hour. That's not bad. I mean, yeah, she's up there, but these engines can take a lot more than that, especially if they've been well maintained. So I did that. I've been driving it around for a little bit, but man, taking off, I spin, wheel hop. I can barely even do a burnout without wheel hopping. It's so bad. So that's what kind of brought me to my last purchases. That was the two-step. Of course, that's my previous video installing that. And that is a huge, huge improvement. I can set the RPM at 2,500 RPM. Of course, it doesn't do much on the street because it's just street tires on 20s. I'm just going to sit here and spin. But when I get to the track, I think it's going to help tremendously, because before, when I was at 342s, I'd just hold the brake and hold the gas to the floor, let off, and it, and then take off. I mean, I was running, I think I was doing like 2.2 to 60 foot, which is insane. Like, it's just terrible. Like, you can almost run faster than that. But I think this two-step and the gearing is going to really get me on track, and hopefully here soon I'll be able to do that. I got the track bars. They're ready to go on. I'm going to do a detail install on them, just because I don't see any videos out of people installing these, and I'm always curious before I buy something, like, how do you do this? What's the pros, what's the cons? Do I need to cut up anything? Whatnot. So I'll go in depth with that. And the headers, I've accepted the fact it's going to be a while before I get to turbo this. The funds ain't there. My wife and I are wanting to start to have kids. And I can't really justify spending, $5,000 on a turbo kit for this truck that, the engine's got probably about 280,000 miles on it. She's going to let go at any moment, especially the way I abuse her. I mean, every time she's out, she's, $6,000, just wide open. But hopefully she survives a little longer. She's already got for boost with her age. And I've looked at maybe spraying some nitrous on her just for fun, just to kind of do a placeholder, nothing major, 100, 150 shot, but you never know. But I guess that's kind of the story of where the truck's at. Got, what I want to do. I want to, get 700, 800 horsepower, have a lot of fun. I mean, there's not a lot of high horsepower street trucks, around where I live, and this thing ain't no slouch. I mean, 320 wheel don't sound much, but that's faster than most stuff on the road today, even at 4,700 pounds with the gearing. I mean, it scoots. I mean, I'm really, really curious to what she's going to do at the track. I really look forward to it. But hopefully y'all join me here later on this week when I go to install these headers and track bars. And who knows, hopefully they go smoother. Thanks for watching. And remember, for the first 100 subscribers, I'm going to have a drawing and probably give away a $15 to $20 gift card to your choice. I have a name generator and pick someone at random. To get that, you need to obviously follow my YouTube page or subscribe to my YouTube and like the video. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to 100. I don't really care. I'm more doing this for fun. But the more people I have, subscribe to the channel, the faster, I can grow and, maybe show the things that I wish I could have seen when I was looking to purchase some part for the vehicle. Yeah. But Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Blake, and hope to see you next time. Bye.